Comicsgate goes Hollywood. 1, you're going to get kicked off YouTube and the other mainstream social media platforms. 2, Hollywood hates you. 3, make your own Hollywood. And 4, stop punching right. Stick to the principles of free speech. I look at the fallout of writing Ripley, and I think that could conceivably cost EVS tens of millions in lost future movies, cartoons, and toy sales. One little idiot who put her name on her podcast, who got a hard-on for people who didn't like Star Wars. She tried to take down the quartering Geeks and Gamers, EVS, calling them all right. They're not even close. They criticize dumb films, but they are pushing a far-left agenda, and thus nobody is allowed to criticize those films. I just needed a boob break. Okay, so this one crazy girl is trying to destroy these guys' lives and stifle their ability to earn a living. Now, here's the thing. Except that there are these mentally ill, petty, vindictive parasites out there. They are the enemy. They hate you and will try to hurt you. They are just the price of doing business. But the next has to do with Geeks and Gamers and his idea of trying to reach out to Hollywood and to anyone else who is vaguely on the right and wants to reach out to the left. All that changed in 2016. For the foreseeable future, you can forget about it. Eventually, there's going to be a civil war and a splitting of the country. But until then, if you're slightly on the right or Christian, you are dead to Hollywood and the pop culture spheres. And I'm just using Hollywood as kind of a general term for all that entertainment left-wing industry. They want your money, but that is it. You are otherwise not welcome. Watching Jeremy try to reach out to them, he must think it's still pre-BLM riots. We are in a Marxist uprising now that is a precursor to a fundamental shift in America. Twitter has a lot of power, but it's a mistake to think Twitter is pulling films or comics to the left. The companies are controlled by globalists. They are further left than these Twitter commie kids. Try to imagine Doug TenNapel or EVS going to work for the mainstream in the current climate. That would be impossible, and Marvel and DC don't care about how much money they might bring in. They hate Doug and Ethan and Mike and whoever else. They know they're not far right. That doesn't matter. Mike Miller, Ethan, Doug just are not on board with all this globalist nonsense. If you are vaguely on the right or a Christian, you have to accept that the business sector of public entertainment has changed. You are no longer welcome. It is over. 2016 was a soft line in the sand, a very difficult, very hostile work environment. The 2020 riots was a hard line in the sand. It is over for you. Comics, movies, literature, any public entertainment endeavor, wherever your social media can be scrutinized, is going to be a dead end. Things were in a precarious position in 2016, but 2020 changed things. The only way things could peacefully change is if a huge studio said that they were pro-free speech and respected diversity of thought. Yeah, try not to laugh. But then the video platforms, the banks, and payment processors wouldn't work with them because they're all controlled by globalist, godless commies. They control the media and banks. That is the industry. I don't know if people understand how interconnected these things are. The people who control the purse strings are Marxists, and they feel it's safe to come out of the closet. They don't want a fair and balanced perspective. They don't give a darn about the principles of the Constitution. They hate America. They want to destroy it, and they know globalism will do it. And don't get me wrong, there are some useful idiots on the left who are just being useful idiots. They're not quite looking ahead to the future and extrapolating. Heaven forbid they read past history of, Russia, China, Southeast Asia, Central America. There is going to be, in this weird time before the war, where normies come to terms with how the NGOs actually run America. Who has more power in America? We the people, or Jack Dorsey, Zuckerberg, the Rothschilds, and Soros? You know the answer to that. I wouldn't even be talking like this if I had a big channel, because enough people would simply file a complaint and the channel would be banned. If they want to take your channel away, eventually they will. And no, I don't care about this channel. But for all of those other people on YouTube who are doing this as a gig, it's something to think about. All of the good right of center channels are gone. Not for any violation of terms, but for a channel like Way of the World, simply because he spoke up against globalism, which means one must be pro-nationalism, and that is haram on mainstream social media. My point is, stop trying to reach out to the corporate left. Stop making concessions, and stop attacking people a millimeter to the right of you. There are a ton of normie milquetoast conservatives who see pride as a sin and they go out of their way to virtue signal. Stop. We don't have time to fight among ourselves. Mike Miller and Doug TenNapel have their beliefs. Your virtue signaling doesn't mean Max Visaggio and Disney is going to come running. There is a temptation for Doug TenNapel to virtue signal and attack people on the right because, and guys like Doug TenNapel, because they want their properties to go mainstream and it might be worth tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars. Things are changing so fast now, it's better to find your core principles and draw a line in the sand. I know Geeks and Gamers is trying to grow his channel and jump into the left-wing market. I don't think that is possible after 2020. And I'm surprised that he thinks it is possible. You can show photos of your employees all you want to try to win the contest of who has hired more purse puppies. It doesn't matter. You still think that you're dealing with calm, respectful adults. You're not, because they don't care about diversity or Islamophobicism. That is just a surface issue they use as a red herring. They are the racist ones, and I mean that literally, not ironically or somehow it's used humorously. They are actually racist. So your performance, your virtue signaling, performative showing off purse puppies doesn't do any good. They don't actually care. I and most of these SJWs know most of the fandom menace in Comicsgate is not Islamophobic. Most people aren't. They don't care. It was never about race or LGBT rights or anything else, because most of us agree, left and right are mostly on board with all those kind of things. That is only to fool the useful idiots on the left and the right. They use these Marxist terms as control terms to shift the narrative. You could be gay, black, and trans, but if you were pro-free speech, they would try to destroy you. All the LGBT stuff is just window dressing. If they ever openly seize power, a couple years away, all the LGBT useful idiots are just going to be put in the gulag. Communism doesn't have a real good track record with women's or gay rights because they need breeders and people to work the farms. So reaching out to Zack Snyder was a mistake, but hindsight is 2020. Live and learn, move on. It's not a big deal. And your brand, your channel will survive this. Unless you get deplatformed, but I'll get to that in a sec. You must understand that they are never going to accept you. They will never treat you fairly, but don't compound your mistake by continuing to suck up to Hollywood. Hollywood hates you, but also there are too many tangled factions involved such that no one person in entertainment is allowed to reach out. They don't care about the reality of what is or is. I think boobs are just comforting. They only care about how their peers in the industry and Twitter will react. Not a single person in Hollywood will take a stand because it de facto means that they are retiring from Hollywood effective immediately. They're forced to agree with, advocate for, or remain silent on issues they find abhorrent so they don't get blacklisted. So this is a positive reinforcement loop where the demands get more and more ridiculous. We got here because the moderates and conservatives conceded so many issues. Now we have MAPS and trans kids who are basically catamites for Epstein and Weinstein types. Everyone on the moderate right is scared of being canceled, so they immediately roll over and virtue signal anytime they hear pride is a sin. Stop conceding. Stop. You lose the respect of everyone. Everyone looks to the guy on the right and calls them a Nazi. Then in turn, they're shocked when it's their turn to be canceled. Stop attacking people on the right. It doesn't help you and it makes you look like a pussy. Work together to build something new. You are dead to the mainstream. Your allies are the people to the right of you. I don't know if we can build our own Hollywood anytime soon, but I do know that to keep supporting the current Hollywood is insane. The media companies call you toxic if you criticize their films. they don't care about us. We're not going to change Hollywood. We can just stop supporting them entirely or make our own. I know that sounds like a crazy statement, but films post-2020 are going to be propaganda and nothing more. If your position is so precarious that a mentally ill SJW girl with a podcast can get you kicked off, then you might as well reach out to everyone who isn't an SJW and move over to Odysee and BitChute and Gab and Gab TV. Those are video hosting platforms with less censorship. They're going to do live streaming very soon. Dlive does live streaming now. If you're these big draw channels, not the huge ones like Salty, but like Quartering Geeks Gamers, EVS, Doug Tenaple, even Mecha Nerdette, Mandy, whatever, all these channels, Vagrants, Comicsgate, and Fandom Menace, you can get 10 people together once a week and do a Dlive exclusive live stream. I don't care if you disagree, if EVS and Doug have an argument, or Yellow Flash doesn't like somebody, whoever. I love comics and Yellow Flash, or whoever. Get everyone together on an exclusive Dlive once a week. All these big, talented people who can draw a crowd. You'll get a lot of people on Dlive. You'll be surprised by how many people you get over there. It's just to familiarize people with getting off the YouTube platform. You're going to get kicked off eventually. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope these titties don't get me kicked off YouTube, but titties are nice. All size titties are nice, and that's just, anyway, like, comment, subscribe, guys. I'll see you all next episode.